You see, they've made a fatal miscalculation. They mistake your stillness for surrender. They interpret your silence as the white flag of a broken spirit, the final exhale of a man who's been cracked open and left to the vultures. They toast to what they believe is your defeat, but they don't understand the nature of this calm. It isn't peace. It's not the gentle quiet of a serene lake. It's the dead, heavy silence of the deep ocean, where immense pressure forges diamonds. This calm is a conscious decision. It is the final, strategic pause before the declaration of war. It's the chilling stillness in the air just before the storm descends to obliterate the landscape. Your calm is not an absence of feeling. It is the absolute mastery of it. It's patience steeped in the memory of pain. Do you think I don't understand what it means to contain a supernova within your chest while presenting a face of stone? To be a boiling cauldron on the inside while your eyes remain cold and steady, a poker face that reveals nothing but implies everything. They laugh because your roar has subsided into a quiet hum. They think you've lost the fight. And that right there is precisely why you are now winning the war. Calm is the kind of power that operates in the shadows, a force they never see coming. Rage is a sledgehammer, loud, messy, and obvious. But calm is a scalpel. It doesn't scream for attention. It doesn't swing wildly. It observes. It waits. It learns. And when it finally makes its move, it cuts with surgical precision, finishing the game completely. You once believed you had to counter every jab to answer every insult. You thought you owed an explanation to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You were convinced your value was measured by the volume of your bark when they prodded your wounds. No, that was their game, played on their field, by their rules. They crave the reaction. They feed on the chaos. They are parasites that thrive on your emotional energy. Your calm, your impenetrable stillness starves them. It is a silence far more deafening than their loudest noise. Have you ever seen a lion distracted by the buzzing of flies? Never. But flies will always swarm a lion, hoping for a reaction that will never come. You are not meant to engage with everything. You are not supposed to lower your altitude just because they have a platform to screech from. Your objective is singular: to become untouchable, to achieve that you stay calm. You level up in the dark. You gather their disrespect not as wounds, but as data, as fuel. And when the time is right, you don't show up to argue. You let your success be the fire that consumes their entire circus from a distance. Let me illuminate a truth this loud, frantic world has tried to bury. Discipline is the bedrock of power, and calm is the highest, most potent form of discipline. You must become surgical with your silence and strategic with your stillness. While they are busy screaming into the void, you are planning your ascent. While they are posting their fleeting victories online, you are building your empire brick by silent brick. While they run in frantic circles, chasing the fleeting validation of strangers, you walk a straight, unwavering line toward a destiny they can't even comprehend. They will assume you're gone, that you've become irrelevant, a forgotten footnote in their drama-filled lives. Let them. Let them erase you from their narrative. Let them forget the sound of your name. Because when you rise, when the period of silence culminates in irreversible action, oh, they will remember you, not as the version they once knew, not the soft, pliable man they laughed at, but the force they cannot control, cannot provoke, and cannot shake. The version of you that doesn't respond to their nonsense, but instead makes moves that create shock waves they cannot ignore. Have you ever noticed? The ones who constantly need to be seen, the ones always shouting, always posturing, always trying to prove their worth. They are the ones who are secretly crumbling behind closed doors. Because true power doesn't require an audience. Real growth doesn't need to be broadcasted. And healing is an ugly, brutal, and lonely process. It happens in the quiet dark, but it forges something terrifyingly resilient, a version of you they are not equipped to survive. Calm is the furnace that forges this new self. Calm is what shapes a weapon out of a wounded soul. And that soul, your soul, has endured enough fire. You don't need to bark anymore. Let your silence be the chilling reminder of who you are. Let your growth be the blinding light they can't look at. Let your distance become their punishment, because the very people who once thought they could get under your skin won't even be able to get on your calendar. They will continue to test you. It's all they know. They will poke, lie, disappear, and then reappear with a smile. They will try to confuse you, manipulate you, slander your name, then beg for your forgiveness. They will blame you, cry, smile, stab, and hug, all in a desperate attempt to elicit one thing, a reaction. A sign that the strings they once pulled are still attached. A confirmation that they still own a piece of your peace. And when you give them nothing, when you just hold that calm, steady gaze, that's the moment you seize absolute victory. That's when the entire power dynamic flips. Calm isn't weakness. Calm is a crown. And the kings who wear it are no longer playing the same mortal game. They've already transcended it. Let me tell you something ice cold and true. The moment you stop justifying your existence is the moment you start commanding respect. The day you stop reacting is the day they start reflecting on their own actions. And when you stop chasing them, they begin to crumble under the weight of their own inadequacy. That is the immutable cycle. It doesn't change for anyone, but it begins with a choice, a brutally hard one. To choose calm when every fiber of your being screams for vengeance. To choose silence when your ego wants to roar. To choose to walk away when your pride demands a fight. It isn't easy. That's why so few achieve it. That's why so few become untouchable. But you are learning. Slowly, painfully, quietly, but surely. So stay calm, stay cold, watch everything, say nothing. And when the time comes, let your new reality decimate everything they thought you could never rebuild. Because the most thunderous revenge is the silence that grows into undeniable greatness. The calmest man in the room is always the most dangerous. They will call you heartless for no longer reacting. They will say you've changed because you no longer leap to solve their self-inflicted crisis. They will whisper to others, he just doesn't care anymore. But what they will never admit, even to themselves, is that your silence terrifies them to their core. You were once a predictable pattern, soft, responsive, easily shaken. But now, you are an unreadable cipher, still calculated and impenetrable. And that is the most intimidating version of you they have ever encountered. Because true, focused silence demonstrates that you are no longer a slave to your emotions. You are no longer desperate for their approval. You are done seeking closure from people who are committed to chaos. Done chasing explanations. Done entertaining their circus. And that kind of silence is the genesis of dominance. They can't argue with someone who has left the playing field. They can't manipulate a ghost. They can't break a man who has already rebuilt himself from his own ashes. You stayed calm, and that calm evolved into strategy, into control, into the very definition of untouchable. And now they are the ones left screaming into the void you left behind. Let me ask you a very real question. What did reacting ever truly get you? Think back. When you responded to their disrespect with anger, did they suddenly respect you more? When you begged them to stay, did their love for you deepen? When you argued to defend your honor, did they finally see your side of the story? No. All it did was confirm to them that you were still emotionally available, still reachable, still dependent on their opinion, their presence, their validation. You handed them the keys to your emotional state every single time. But calm is a different language. Calm says, I no longer require you to understand my story. Calm says, I have outgrown the chaos you use as fuel. Calm says, you no longer have an access pass to disturb my inner peace. And that is where authentic growth ignites. When you stop performing for an audience that never paid for a ticket. When you stop explaining yourself to a jury that had already passed its verdict. When you stop trying to be seen and simply become undeniable. They will misinterpret your calmness. They will frame it as coldness, as arrogance, as you becoming the villain in their poorly written story. Let them paint whatever portrait of you they need to in order to sleep at night. Because the truth is, you owe no one your side of the story. You don't need to convince anyone of your worth. You have absolutely no obligation to defend your decision to walk away, to go silent, to focus on your own ascent. Calmness is the ultimate act of self-preservation. It's choosing peace over a war with people who never deserved your energy in the first place. And when they see you thriving without them, when they witness you moving forward without reaction, healing without revenge, that's when the truth hits them like a physical blow. That's when they finally realize that the moment you went calm was the moment they lost every last shred of power they ever thought they had over you. And they will come back. Make no mistake. They always circle back when they realize the buttons they used to push no longer work. They return not from a place of love, but from a place of confusion, fear, and shattered pride. Your silence is a puzzle they can't solve, and it drives them mad. You used to be an open book, expressive, available, emotional. Now you are a locked vault, calm, distant, focused, unbothered. It shatters their ego. It demolishes their sense of control. Because silence is a mirror. It forces them to look at themselves without the distraction of your reaction. No drama, no arguments, just the stark, ugly reflection of their own behavior. And that is a louder scream than you could ever utter. Not in words, not in anger, but in your absence, in your upgrade, in your resolute refusal to be the old version of you they were so comfortable manipulating. Stay calm, even when you're underestimated, even when you're lied about, even when they are laughing at your silence. Because eventually, the laughter will die in their throats. It will stop when they see how your stillness was converted into strength. When they realize your disappearance wasn't an act of weakness, but a period of intense preparation. You see, while they were busy mocking, you were building. While they were watching others, you were working on yourself. While they were assuming you were finished, you were becoming dangerous. This world always underestimates the quiet ones, until the quiet ones return with everything that was said they could never have. That is your power. That is your weapon. That is your revenge. Not noise, not explanations, but results. Cold, silent, undeniable, unapologetic results. And in that silence, you will find something sacred. Peace. Not the counterfeit kind people post about online. Not the fragile peace you pretend to have while you're breaking inside. No. I'm talking about real, unshakable peace. The kind that doesn't need an audience. The kind that doesn't chase love. The kind that doesn't care who left or who stayed. The kind that says, I have walked through hell and my hands no longer shake. That kind of peace is earned. It's forged in the fires of suffering, betrayal, and heartbreak. It's paid for with silence. And once you taste it, you will never go back to the man you were, because the old you was reactive, loud, and needy. The new you is strategic, still, focused, and unreachable. So be calm even when it hurts, even when your heart is screaming. Be calm, because nothing terrifies this world more than a man who no longer needs it for his validation. Be calm, because silence is the armor they cannot penetrate. Be calm, because it is the one thing they never expected you to master. And now that you have, you are dangerous in ways they will never, ever understand. And there will come a moment when you realize you don't even recognize the old you anymore. The one who used to stay up all night, replaying conversations, dissecting their silences, searching for clues in a game that was rigged from the start. That version of you was good and full of love, but he was a lamb in a world of wolves. He didn't know how to protect his own spirit, but you know better now. You carry your peace like a king carries his scepter. Not everyone is worthy of being in its presence. Calmness taught you to stop over-explaining because you finally understood that people only hear what confirms their own biases. They twist honesty into weakness and compassion into an opportunity. But silence is non-negotiable. It offers no loopholes. It cannot be twisted. When you go calm, you revoke their license to misunderstand you. You've learned to sit with your silence like an old friend, not in an awkward, empty way, but in a way that is full certain and powerful. And in that stillness, your power multiplies. They can no longer read you, and therefore they can no longer control you. That calm face they once mocked now haunts them. That steady silence echoes louder than any argument you ever had. You have learned to love the quiet, not because it's always peaceful, but because it's always honest. The silence doesn't gaslight you. It doesn't feed you breadcrumbs. In the quiet, you finally met yourself, not the version they wanted you to be, not the role you had to play to be accepted, but the real you. The man who stands tall without their approval. The man whose presence shifts the energy in a room without him uttering a single word. That's the man you have become. You move with intention. You speak only when it matters. You allocate your energy with the precision of a grandmaster. And if that makes you too cold for some, let them shiver. You are no longer in the business of setting yourself on fire to keep others warm. Because this calm is not just an attitude, it's a transformation. It's the final outcome of choosing yourself after a lifetime of choosing others. It's the evolution of a man who learned the hardest way that not everyone clapping for you wants to see you win. And now that you know that, you don't hate them. You simply don't see them anymore. Your calmness didn't just create distance, it created a new standard. It built a fortress. It raised the price of admission. And the ones who once had an all-access pass now can't even find the gate. So let them talk, let them wonder. Let them spin their tales. They don't need to know that your silence is built on a foundation of scars. They don't need to understand that this version of you, the one who doesn't chase, doesn't argue, and doesn't flinch, was born in fire and sharpened by solitude. He's not going anywhere, because you are never going back. Not to the noise, not to the begging, not to the self-betrayal. You have buried that man with honor. And from that grave, someone unstoppable has risen. Someone silent.